with Nadzirah, okay? So I'm going to introduce myself first and foremost, just in case for those KL hubbers who has not seen me in person. Pandemic happens, right? So now we are like off pandemic. So let me just reintroduce myself to those who has not seen me and know me. My name is Nadzirah. I am the HRBP for Nadzirah KL Hub, as well as the Global Function Marketing Corporate Services HRBP. So nice to see everyone and nice to see you guys connecting. So today we're going to speak about embrace equity through personal leadership. And with me, we have special guest, Niney Chong. She is our founder of Womentum, and with her, she has two other experts and ladies here. Ophelia, she's going to be our moderator. She's an audiologist. And we have Malar Villi, who's our EQ expert. So I'll pass the floor to Niney to share a little bit about Womentum, and after we can start our panel discussion. Okay, over to you, Niney.
Thank you so much, Nadzirah. Hi, everyone. My name is Niney Chong, and I am the founder and CEO at Womentum.live. I am super excited and super grateful also for Nestle and Nadzirah, right? So welcome. Happy International Women's Day. Happy embracing equity. And our topic for today is embracing equity through personal leadership. I just would like to introduce to you a little bit about Womentum. Womentum really stands for Women in Momentum, and there are 5 Womentum pillars altogether. There is the body empowerment, emotional care, cognitive fitness, hormonal healing, vigorous and zesty lifestyle. So really, what is our mission at Womentum? Our mission is to advocate, to create awareness on challenges that we face as women, and to be honest, for men as well. And as we are creating awareness on these challenges that is really happening in our lives, right? We get to acknowledge and not be in denial, but to acknowledge, hey, I am human. I do face these challenges as human being. And how can I address it? And how am I able to address it with support system? So I have with me here with my Womentum team, Ophelia, Domingo, as well as Malar Villi. I will let them introduce themselves. Ophelia Domingo is our moderator for today. And we have Malar also, right? I will let Malar introduce herself, or maybe Ophelia will be doing the introduction. So if you would like to know more about Womentum, it's quite easy. We are Womentum.live, L-I-F-E, Womentum.live, L-I-F-E, at all social media platforms, including our websites. That's all from me, and I think it's time for me to pass the mic over to our moderator for today. Back to you, Ophelia. Or over to you.
Thank you very much, Niney. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got any gentlemen in the audience this morning, it is so nice to have this platform where everybody is coming from all over the globe. So I think if that's one thing that the pandemic has changed, this is the positive one that has been, last time it's impossible to be importing a person from Sabah, now I'm dialing in from Sabah. We've got people from all over the world joining us today. So it's great to be invited to be collaborating with Nestle to be celebrating International Women's Day today. And I'm very happy that I have got 3 ladies on board this morning. So I'll be asking you questions. It's going to be conversational, but it will also be touching on questions about personal leadership, particularly the subject of women as a leader. And I do not have to introduce Nadzirah because she has already introduced herself. Malar is an EQ specialist, part of Womentum also, and Niney is the founder of Womentum, doing, I guess all of us here wear many hats, but today let's just put on that one hat. We are women leaders, so let's focus on that. So I will start, and also to let all the audience know that you are invited to ask questions. Just type it on the chat and I will read it out towards the end of the session. I'll probably set about, now it's 11:10. I'll probably pose questions to the speakers for probably about half an hour and give some space to audience to ask questions. And I've got a warm-up question for all the ladies. Short and sweet, please, ladies. Just give me about 30 seconds to 1 minute. What is I'll start with Malar first because Malar hasn't spoken yet. The first question, and this question is going to be posted to all of you. 3, how do you define personal leadership? And what are some of the key characteristics of a strong leader? Malar, over to you.
Okay, what? You give me 30 seconds, I'm already like stressed out, but never mind, I'm going to try. That's the most difficult thing for me. Yeah. Let's talk about leadership, right? So what does it mean to be a leader? I really think that it's about taking responsibility and accountability for your choices in life, right? So when we are dependent on someone to make our choices, or we're making our choices because we are following somebody else and you're a follower. But the moment you make your own choices, a lot of people make their own choices, but they blame other people for the consequences of the choices, right? When we play victim, right? So for me, personal leadership is very much, am I making my choice, number one? And am I going to be both responsible and accountable for the choice, which means any consequence that comes from it, I don't blame anybody, but I take total ownership of it. That will be my less than 1 minute definition. Okay, passing it back to you.
Wonderful, Malar. Short and sweet. Okay, I shall now pass the question to Nadzirah. Same question. What is personal leadership to you and what are the key characteristics to a strong leader? Nadzirah?
Thank you, Ophelia. So I resonate as well with what Malar said. But for me, additional to that is resilience, right? Being a leader, definitely resilience is a key characteristic that you need to have because we are dealing with the uncertainty of the world, right? Be it in our personal life or in professional life, there's a lot of uncertainties. Like for example, pandemic, who would have thought that happened, right? So resilience is key. And look at us now after the endemic, we persevered and we really stick on and we brace through the challenges ahead, and don't play victim. That's most important when you want to have resilience. That's my answer to personal leadership.
Wonderful.
Over to you.
Thank you very much, Nadzirah. And over to you, Niney. I think I don't have to repeat the question unless you want me to.
Yeah. Personal leadership and key characteristic of a strong personal leader, right? That's the question. Okay, so I do agree with what Malar as well as Nadzirah have just shared, right? I think one more point that I would like to add on there is clarity. Simply because I think for me to move on and even to lead myself or maneuver myself towards something, right? Towards a vision, clarity of what is it that I want? How often do we ask ourselves, what do I want? And how often do we understand what are the prices involved in the things that we want in life? What is it that I want? For example, I want a happy marriage. Then if I want a happy marriage, what is involved in creating a happy marriage, in building a happy marriage? I want to have a successful career. What is involved? What are the prices to pay? What are the consequences, whether it is positive or negative, right? What is that? So clarity for me, so that we don't play victim as well. It is an informed decision, informed choice to move forward. That's me. Back to you, Ophelia.
Thanks, Niney. Thanks, ladies. Wonderful. So out of this question, this warm-up question, we already know that the leader doesn't have to be somebody who shouts at the follower. It doesn't have to be garang or fierce all the time. Just based out of this first question, we can sum up that, from Malar, you have that choice to make that choice, my responsibility. And I am accountable for leading you to wherever we are going to. Resilient, a good leader has to be resilient, and also from Niney, to have that clarity, and also what are the consequences of me making that choice. That would be linked to what Malar said in her response. But I'd like to also invite the audience to just type out in the chat, apart from making your own choice, knowing the consequence of your own choice, being responsible, accountable, and being resilient as a leader, what are the other key characteristics of a strong leader that you personally think? You are welcome to chat. Put the key characteristics into the chat while I pose the second questions to the panelists. So,
Ophelia,
yes.
may I just jump in a little there?
Yeah.
There are virtual audience as well as audience who are in Zoom together with us right now. There are about 30 over participants, I think, on Zoom together with us, just so that when people are watching, they know that we have two different audience, the virtual audience who are watching us on live stream right now, as well as who are together with us on Zoom. Back to you, Ophelia.
Thanks, Niney. So wherever you are, whether you're in the sky or in Zoom or watching us on LinkedIn, whichever platform that you are on or where you're at, if you've got that bar there for you to type, go ahead. I invite you to type on it. Or if you're watching this on a repeat, then just say it in your head. Just answer that questions. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Circling back to Malar, I would like to ask Malar, if you can share a story, a short one, Malar, a short story of a time when you had to take a leadership role in a challenging situation, and how did you approach that?
I'm frozen because it's a short story, right? Okay, I'm not sure how short it's going to be, but I'm going to tell you the shortest version. I think what came to my mind were three very consistent situations at work. I think people who know me will know I do training, right? So, and when you are addressing a large audience, large means anything more than, say, 100. Your stress levels increases a lot because there's a lot of, the stake is high, right? And, when you fail, when you're seen as having failed in a small group, it's okay because that's the only place you need the saving grace, right? But if it's a large audience and if it's if it's seen as failure, then it can be pretty challenging. And to make 1,000 people happy can be really, really challenging because you don't know what you want, right? And very often, I think we all get into this situation, who do I please? Do I please my stakeholders who gave me the job and they have their objectives? Or do I please my stakeholders in the session, which are my audience or my participants? And when you have 1,000 people, they want 1,000 things. And they come with their own baggages as well, right? So there was this training program that was, we were running this big show for about 1,000 people. And right in front were the leaders, and right at the back were the so-called non-leaders. When I say leaders, I'm talking about the top leaders of the organization, right? We were running the session, and somewhere through the session, I got a bit of a pressure from the one who appointed me and said, the audience are not engaged. All right.
That's the worst, right?
yeah. And you're up on stage giving your best,
I know.
Yeah, right. All of that. And so my perspective then was, but it's really not my fault. Why? Because we're doing everything we can. You can only be engaged as an audience if you take part. A lot of times, the onus on being engaged seems to be on the so-called leader, right? But I can create the platforms for engagement. But if you choose not to engage, and then you come and say you're not engaged, I don't know, this is something I'm still trying to reconcile, right? And I'm really trying not to try and get emotional about the way I feel at that moment. I felt at that moment. So even now, right, for example, we can have a lot of people in the platform or online, but whether they are engaged, whether they are present, whether they're giving the space a chance is important. Now, what was worse is that I saw the leaders in that space were engaged somewhere else. right? They had calls to take, they were working right in front of me, right? And this is when the stakeholder came and, you know how they put pressure for you. It's not working. People are disengaged. And I was like really getting worked up, right? And then, finally it came like, oh, I think you have failed. I said, okay. I called the stakeholder. I said, you look around. Just tell me where is leadership by example here. If the leaders are okay to be engaged elsewhere, yes, they were working. Then what are we telling everybody else that it is okay for you to set something else as priority? Long story short, I went to my team because we had a bit of a break. I went to my team. I said, we have two choices now. We can walk out of this session feeling like we have failed at them, i.e. failed ourselves, and it's not our fault. Or we can still be seen as failures by telling the truth and walking out with our heads held high. Our stakes were very high because it was big money, right? Big team, big group, big money, right? And we took a couple of deep breaths and I went up and I addressed the leaders. I told them how disappointed I was with them. High risk, right? Now, what was it for me? I think for me at that moment, I felt that what was right for me and my team and for the work that we have put in was very important. What would be the right thing for the business is to agree with the client so that they call you back again or might call you back again, right? Until today, I asked myself whether there's a better way of handling it. No, I didn't know, but I can tell you what happened. Thank God, the leader at that point, CEO, came up and thanked me for sounding them. But did I get more business after that? I'll let you guess and I'll pass it on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Malar.
Yes.
That is a challenging situation, right? So, sometimes when audience are not engaged, like participants for today, some of them don't want to be here. You don't want to be here, but because there is an activity and you are being called to come here, we cannot force you to engage in this conversation if you don't want to. So we as leaders can only do our best. We find out what our audience want, and if their want is met, then they will be engaged. You can't, they say, you can't pull a cow to force them to drink water, a horse or whatever animal that is. So we can't force you. We can only do our best. And Malar, whatever that you did, just addressing the members, like the leaders, right? Sometimes a leader need to knock the head of another leader and say, you want these people to follow, but you're not doing it yourself. So somebody has to be called out because, that's how leadership is lah. Right. So thank you very much.
A lot of courage, I think.
It does take a lot of courage. Yeah, you're right. Okay, go ahead. I know, Malar, you look like you wanted to add something. Go ahead.
Yeah, and thanks for saying it. Actually, if you ask me, was I courageous at that time? No, I was fearful. But I think that the point is, I think every time we make a difficult choice, we need to accept responsibility that comes with that choice. And that choice, that consequences may not be what you want.
Yeah. And sometimes people lose sleep over that consequence. Sometimes decisions has to be made. It is difficult and we lose sleep over it. So yeah.
And because you say it's sleep, I will say that if I had walked out without defending ourselves, yes, without saying what I needed, I think it would have robbed me of my sleep for many, many weeks. I probably slept better because I felt that we were set right as equal with the client. Yeah.
Uncomfortable, whatever it is, the level of comfort is not there. It is uncomfortable, whichever decision that you make, but the consequences would be, it makes a difference. All right, moving along, I would now like to pose a question to Niney, and this is, Niney has mentored many women and men, in her career for many, many years. So my question to Niney is, what role do you see mentorship playing in helping women develop their personal leadership skills? And what advice do you have for finding and working with a mentor? So this is around the question of mentorship. What is it? Is a mentor important in helping women build their leadership skills? Niney?
Thank you, Ophelia. So I like the question that you threw to Malar, right? Because there's just so much that I can say there. But never mind.
But that's not your question, Niney. That's not your question.
I better answer my question, right? So just to set it straight, I have been mentored and I have mentored many, right? But I think I will comment, not to give advice, but to comment this from my personal point of view. Through my experience, I've learned a lot, right? I think I've grown a lot as well, as a mentor and as well as a mentee, because I believe that in order for me to be a mentor, I need to be able to be a mentee. In order for me to lead, I need to be able to follow as well, right? And here's what it is. I think that I will first share on my personal experience of being mentored. My biggest struggle in being a mentee is when my mentor wants me to fulfill or to fit into a mold of how I need to be, who should I be, what can I do, what I cannot do, right? I think that has taught me a lot as a mentor. That has kept me aware that, you know what, different people have different needs and wants and desire and definition of success. Therefore, I can never have like a preset mold for everyone. So that is my biggest learning, I guess. And whether or not to have a mentor and to be a mentee, I am still a mentee. For example, I look to Malar for so much of emotional guidance, right? Because she is an emotional intelligence specialist. And there are different mentors that I have in my life who I look to for advices, who I look to for insights, feedbacks, right? Just a couple of weeks ago, Ophelia, I was asking for you some relationship feedback, right? And I think whether it is important or not, it is very, very important. But I feel that the role of a mentor is to bring out what is it that your mentee really wants? What is it that could contribute to that mentee based on what they desire, what their goals are? Not really, okay, your goal should be this, right? Your goal shouldn't be that. Or you shouldn't do this, because if you do this, you will not succeed. What is the person's definition of success, even before you determine what can or they cannot do, right? So I feel that in our lives right now, whether it is in mentoring or not, in relationship, in husband and wife, parenting relationship, right? Friends, there's just so many shoot. I think that we need to step away from the shoots, stand in from a more empathetic role or angle, and then find out, really ask. I think there was an interview done by Oprah Winfrey and Brené Brown on her latest book, Atlas of the Heart, that many of us assume or put ourselves in a person's shoes rather than asking the person, her or himself, what is it that we want? What are you struggling with right now? How can I support you, rather than come from the assumption of, hey, I need to support this person from this angle because I think this is what he or she needs. I think this is what you want, rather than asking that person and really believing that person that this is what they want. What is their definition of success? And how am I really able to support and contribute, not coming from assumption? I think that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of skill that takes a lot of bravery to ask a person, what is it that you really want? Because the person might, no one has ever asked me before. What is it that I want? No, nobody have asked me that before. Because as simple as it sounds, what do you want? Many people have not asked themselves that question before. So there you go, Ophelia.
Thanks, Niney. I'd like to also add to, I have been a mentor before, I have been mentored before, and I know the benefits of it. A lot of people who have mentor or they are mentor themselves know the benefits of it. But I'd like to highlight something also is for us to be cautious about mentors who are afraid of their lights being dimmed. And I have met leaders who preaches about, women helping women, and suddenly their mentee's light shines brighter than theirs and they freak out. We also have to be very aware of that, knowing, the benefits of having a mentor. So wonderful. Thank you very much, Niney. And I'd like to ask if any of the ladies, any of you would like to chime in or say something. Otherwise, I'll move on to Nadzirah. Okay, all right. So I'll move on to Nadzirah, and because Nadzirah is the only person here on this stage that is with an international company. So the question for Nadzirah would be the experiences or some of the common challenges that women face in leadership roles in an international corporation context, and how can they overcome that? Over to you, Nadzirah.
Thank you. Well, that's a big question. I'll try my best to share, at least from my perspective, humbly working in MNC for the last 9-10 years, right? So I guess when you talk about expectation at international level, especially us, right, working as an Asian women in MNC, there's a lot of things that they talk about. Is this person having the right capability and competency to do the job? Has this person got the experience to do the job? It's an MNC world. The expectation is really huge. It's global KPIs, etc., etc. So that's always like an issue there when they look at us, women in leadership role. Do you have that experience, competency, capability as an Asian woman, especially, right? That has been the key challenge that I've seen so far across the board, right? Second, when they look at us as women in leadership role, and you are in the international setting, global environment, the next question they will ask is, and especially when you're married with children, are you mobile? They will ask you this, because for you to be a leader in an MNC setting, global role, you are required somehow to be able to move around the jobs, right? And then sometimes for us with children and with husbands and all those, it's a huge decision because you need to move out of the country to somewhere else that's foreign. Your parents are not there, your family is not there, you need to settle down. So the mobility is also another issue. These are the two things that I see so far, like a hot topic. Even now in Street, we are discussing this, right? For women in leadership roles. So if I want to sum up, these are the two things that I see in the MNC setting.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nadzirah. And I guess it's not just being Asian women that faces that challenges, but
for mobility, correct.
Yeah,
it's across the board, everyone.
Yes, across the board. But I guess probably Asian women don't speak up. They're not brave enough. I think courage is also the key indicator to fighting for your rights, fighting for your needs, and also asking.
Or a cultural norm, actually.
It's a cultural. So yes, correct. Actually, if I want to take it back, right, let's not just say Asian, but across the globe that at least I've seen across, women in general, like, they have this, they want to be competitive at some point, but there are certain things that are holding them back, right? Especially when people challenge them. Hey, can you do this job? You're gonna be a senior leader here, so and so. You need to move from here and here. They want to do it, but at the same time, something is holding them back, and it could be a lot of things. Like, hey, Can I move? What's going to happen to my kid? What's going to happen to my family? It's going to take long hours, etc. So there's a lot of things that's happening, right? When you talk about women in leadership and you need to do all these things all together one time. Now, to your point on how do we overcome or how do I see people overcome this? Number one, very clear characteristic. I see these ladies, the leadership position, they are very assertive people. Like once they make that decision, like pop, bang on, I'm going to do it and I'm going to make it happen. And second, their level of balancing between the emotional need and functional need is really good. Like they can balance it out. I'm at work, I'm like this, I'm going to deliver this, I'm going to prioritize this, my time management, etc. They're going to do it. At home, they apply the same as well. This is what I see, the characteristics. And then work demand, etc. They know how to balance this. These women in leadership roles, right? Assertiveness, really managing their emotional needs as well as the functional needs. And then lastly, I see them, they are really, I would say, lead with empathy in a way, right? Because they know how it feels like altogether and they know they need to drive certain things, but they have the empathy part as well for them to still balance things out. So this is what I see so far in the MNC world.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nadzirah. Any Niney, Malar, would you like to chime in?
Leading with hearts and minds, Malar.
Yeah, I
Go
cannot
ahead.
tahan now because I think you've brought in some things that's really close to my heart, and I'm just going to throw out some thoughts that's running in my mind for what you said right now. I think not many people would say the second part because that's assumed, right? I have some questions generally I suppose, for us to think about, both as a woman, a mother, and a leader, right? Because we can't see that separate. I think some of the things that I just want to pick out words that you all said, right? I think Ophelia said we need to fight for our right. But embrace equity is about to be given and not to be fought for. Right? And I think for us not to first, we are in the space that we feel that it's my right and you don't give it to me, which is why we are putting up a fight, right? A movement to say, this is what the world owes us, or the situation owes us, is what International Women's Day is all about. But having said that, right, I think, we talk a lot about being strong women, being courageous. I think there's one part that we, first and foremost, as a woman, do you know what your rights are, especially when you step into the workplace? And I'm not talking, and when we talk about rights, we talk about our rights to leadership, our rights to equality and equity at workplace. But it is often at the expense of giving up our rights as a woman, the desire to be a mother, the desire to be there for your family. That is what makes us unique and special at the workplace. That's the diversity that we bring in. And sometimes what our roles are requiring us to do is that it requires you to be two different people. Then how can we say we want women in the leadership role to bring in diversity? Because that's exactly what you're asking me to sacrifice when I come into the workplace. I find this whole thing very confusing, annoying sometimes.
So that's the thing. I understand where you're coming from as well, and I totally resonate, right? Because what's that? In economy, you have that cost where you kind of need to factor in and you need to forego something in order to gain something. What's that? Exactly. So that's what's happening right now, right? If we're talking about women in leadership, they need to do something, but they need to sacrifice something. But I like your point when you say embrace equity is not a right to be fought for, right? It's supposed to be given. I guess this is where the discussion that's happening right now across, when you talk about embrace equity, is about setting the right space, the right forum, the right environment, not just for women, right, but also for the the men as well, in order for us to work together. We are not here to fight for everything. We are here to really work together equally using our strengths as a woman and as a men, right? So that's just my thought on to your point. Yeah.
Yeah, I just would like to contribute to that, right? Because here's the thing. I feel that women need to always, if this is not only in corporate, but in general, being an entrepreneur, I love going to conferences. I love going to different type of events. And the thing is, I always have my kids with me. And, but most of the time, I am put in the position, I have to make a choice. Am I choosing to be with my kids, or am I choosing to learn or to go to a networking event? So I guess, leaders as well need to make a stand and to actually speak up. And when I say make a stand, right, I don't know, there were countless times that I had to just stood there in front of a conference registration table and say to them that, hey, I am a mother. What you are asking me to do right now is to go back and send my kid home so that I am able to be here and attend this and learn. So that is an either or. Why can't I have both? With, of course, like a little fine note lah, that say, hey, if you have your kids with you, then you need to take care of your kids lah, right? So what I'm trying to say is that rather than abide by the cultural norm that when you are going to a professional or a business event, you cannot bring your kids. So that is standard everywhere worldwide, right? But make that stand, speak up and say what you feel that is right for you. I'm not saying to fight, but what I am saying is that maybe people don't think about this. But if there are more and more people or leaders who speak up, and they will see the balance. Of course, that, you as leaders, you need to be responsible also. Like if your kid starts screaming in a conference, then it's on you. It's how can I be responsible in this situation, right? So yeah.
So the keyword for what Niney is saying is also that courage to change, because change is uncomfortable. And this leads me to a memory of when Niney introduced virtual meeting. This was pre-pandemic. We are talking about 2015, 2016, when Niney said, I'm in KL, ladies, and this physical meeting is in KK in Kota Kinabalu, and I can attend the meeting virtually by opening. And people were saying, no, it's impossible. Your attendance won't be counted. You need to be physically here. It's very difficult to set up and da-da-da-da and all that. And pang, COVID happened. And look, this is what Niney has been preaching, many years ago. So the change is uncomfortable. We need to, again, going back to that decision that I want to make, that choice that I'm making, that consequence that is going to come from that decision that I make. So thank you, ladies, for, chiming into that conversation and to that question. All right, I'd like to, once again, invite those who are on Zoom and you've got a question, go ahead, type it out, address it to any of the speakers, and then I'll be reading out that question towards the end of this session. We've got about 15 minutes before we end this session, and we have, I think that we have got about one question per speaker. We've got time for that. And I'd like to circle back to Malar. And the question, Malar, for you is, so this is in relation to what you said previously. So now we are looking for balance. How then can you balance that need, the need to, assert that authority as a leader, while that desire to build and maintain a positive relationship with your colleagues and also your team member? So you don't want to be too much here, you don't want to be here also, you get what I mean, right? So that balance of don't want to be too fierce because you may sacrifice your relationship with other people. Malar.
Okay, I am going to ask, do we ever ask the men this question?
Oh, I asked my husband.
Sorry, the same question as to how do you balance, is it?
Yes, I asked him.
Good. So I think that because I see this question being asked to women if not most of the time, all the time. And we assume that it is okay for men to be that way, but it's not okay for women to be that way, right? As if men don't need a balance of that, right? And also the idea of power, right? We often assume, the assumption is, if you're a woman, you shouldn't be comfortable with power. Hello, right? and so first and foremost, I think the question itself is very has a gender bias because of our assumptions that what is okay for men is not okay for women. And when something, and men are not doing this, right? Men have just been in the workforce earlier than us, and they were settled in differently. Whereas when we come into the workforce in a space where men did it their way, now we're trying to fit in and settle in. And then we struggle. So I think more than answering, I will answer your question. I think the question that pops up to my mind is this: what are you identifying? What is the identity that you're connecting yourself with in whatever qualities of leadership we are talking about? So if we say leadership is about power, for some people it is about power, not for everybody. Are you comfortable with that power? Because at home, when women are in charge, and you know how children are sometimes more terrified of the mother than the father, it is okay at home. It is okay, you know, when a man usually, will, in a funny way, say, I need to check with my boss at home. I need to check with home ministry. Power then is okay. We don't ask this question at home because we've established our identity at home. Now we're trying to re-establish our identity at work. So I think more than, the power question and how do we balance, I think we need to ask ourselves, do we have a problem identifying whether it's power, whether it's money, whether it's fame, anything, right? Whatever that you feel uncomfortable as a woman being associated to leadership or role, right? You need to ask, why is it hitting me does my identity need a transformation? All right, because I've taken up a certain belief about identity from my past, and it's okay, it's now time for me to check in. That's why I'm uncomfortable. Because once you're comfortable, you don't need to worry about balance. Now, having said that, whether you're a leader or not, every human being is always looking for balance. Now, what is balance here? Balance is when two things are equally important. We are at crossroads. Which one do I give priority? And my answer to that is, do you have clarity of what is most important for you now in this particular situation? So whether it's home or children, like what Niney say, it's not what is better, right? Because businesses have to run. They have their priorities. Businesses don't owe us anything just because we are women. Businesses want us because we are supposed to add value. That's why they're bringing us. That's why they are trying to make the changes. Now, why? Also, don't be sorry about being a woman and being the support pillar in your house. If all women are taken off the support system in families, imagine what will happen to families. I think we need to cut away the shame to being the second-class citizen as a woman because you've played a so-called supportive role, because we have been trained to believe that we are supportive, trained to believe that you are a second-class citizen. We're trained for generations. We need to cut away the shame, right? I think is what we need to start thinking about, because there's no shame in whatever you do. Now, because we are so good at what we do, just remember this, because we are so, I want to use the word bloody, so bloody good at what we do.
It's all right. We are adults here.
We are so good at it to take us from home and put us at work. Imagine the expectation that is set on us. I know you can cope with work and home. Our problem is we believe that. That's our problem. Our problem is, yeah, can we do it? We've always done it. We've always done it. We can do that and do that more. But it is time for us to say, I can do that and I can do that more, but I want others who do less to step up, whoever they are. That's how we bring about equity. And this is not about men, yeah? This is why, because I add value to the workspace, this is why you need to support me. The organization, the country, the education, the family, the community, everyone have to support us, not because we're not good enough, but because we are bloody good. And we want to transfer the skills for other people so that everybody has a chance to have an equity to use living the best life and using their talent. I think that's what it is about, because when we do that, we will understand what our values are. And when we understand what our values are, choices become clear, not easier, but clear. Because with every choice you make, there's a consequence. When you assert yourself, if you're clear, you know there would always be people who are unhappy. As long as you know that you didn't bring about your happiness, you were true to your role, you were true to your vocation, you did your best, I don't think we should be sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I know, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay,
Wonderful. So it answers the question in where do not be embarrassed to have that power, to have that assertiveness. So what? So what? As long as you're clear and you know the consequences.
Yeah, so can you imagine, right, if someone comes to you at a meeting and said, hey, Malar, you just now, Marak, you raise your voice. Then you imagine, you look at them coolly, you practice this in front of the mirror and said, so.
As long as you're clear, exactly. Clear about your intention, I think. Intention and your action is a calculated risk. Like, go ahead and stand your ground. I agree to that. Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Niney, you'd like to say something?
I think I have a lot to say, but I takut nanti I will to overtime.
The time, is it?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So let me do this. Let me do this instead of chiming in to that question. Let me ask you a fresh question. Niney, what strategies have you found to be most effective in building and maintaining confidence? So we did speak about that. So how do you find strategies that is effective in building confidence as a leader?
Okay, I think that finally I have the opportunity to speak about the work that we do at Womentum, right? So again, just to refresh everybody's mind, there are 5 Womentum pillars altogether: body empowerment, emotional care, cognitive fitness, hormonal healing, vigorous and zesty lifestyle. So, you know, I think the mistake that I've done in my journey of leadership is thinking that I can do it all the time. You know, I need to be it all the time. I need to have it together all the time. I need to be okay all the time. I have to be at a level 10 all the time. I need to be the mother at home all the time. I need to be the wife and support my husband all the time. There's just so many roles, right, that I need to fit in. So I think, right, the reason why we started Womentum, or the reason why I started or had the idea of finding Womentum or creating Womentum, right, is to address my own personal issue, right? My personal issue was hormonal problem, right? And it took quite a bit of me as a human being, not even a leader, right? It got me through a lot of emotional turmoil, physical health turmoil. So many was going on at the same time. And I realized at that time that as I am on the go mode, right, where I should be so many things, I actually am killing myself. I am killing myself, and as I am killing myself, I am also killing the inspiration, the empowerment that I have been projecting out, and I have been letting myself down, betraying myself and betraying the people who I love most in my life, which is my family, especially my 2 children. So I guess being able to take the step back and say that, hey, yes, I am a leader, but I need a like a midpoint check or like a time out for a little while, right? Just to get my body into the workshop, i.e. hospital or clinic, to just find out what's going on with my body. What can I fix? Because really, right, from my personal experience, whatever that I ignore, never mind lah, I will check. I will check later. Let me just finish this work again. But then another work would come up again. And then another work. But guess what? As my work keeps on accumulating, my health issues keeps on accumulating as well. So I guess that needs to stop, right? That needs to stop. I have been trying to step away and request that people don't call me a superwoman anymore, because really what I want to tell people that, you know what, yes, I may look like I have everything together, but I do face my challenges, and sometimes there are challenges that is so challenging that I thought that I will not go through it. I thought that I'll break this time around. And I believe this. I believe that the more I own my shame, the more I own my sickness, the more that I own my vulnerability, and be open about it and acknowledge that it is really happening in my life, the more that the resistance or the denial will reduce, and I will tend to be in a place where, hey, I have body issues, I have emotional issues, I have cognitive issues, I have hormone issues. I am not living a life that I am happy about right now. What can I do about it? And that is the reason, I think, why Womentum started, and why I have you ladies, right, be part of Womentum and trusting the work that we do at Womentum, the cause of it, right, the cause of what we do at Womentum. I think that the more that you learn about yourself, whether it is your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, everything, right, the more confident that you are, the less or the more detached you are with that image or persona that you need to be, that woman who has it together, right? And you are okay to be vulnerable, okay to say that, I am having a financial situation right now. I am having relationship problem right now. I am facing whatever, right? That I am okay with it, because I think what Womentum is really about is to say to the world that I am human, because I am human and I am facing these challenges, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just about me saying it out, and another woman or another man will say, actually, right, I am facing the same thing as well. And I feel now that I am not alone. Just the idea of knowing that I am not alone is already contributing to self-confidence. That's me, Ophelia. Over to you.
Thank you, Niney. That's very, very important to also understand that before you are confident, you must also be clear about what you want. Going back, is always going back to clarity, and knowing the consequence of that decision that you make will give you that confidence. And I think it also takes courage and also experience to bring a person to that level. I am also very aware of time. I would like to ask Nadzirah if she'd like to answer the final question, which is posted in the chat group. It's about compensation. Is it still a concern in the equity decision? Maybe Nadzirah, you'd like to answer this, coming from an international company?
Sure. So on this, at least from Nestle perspective today, the answer is we are not looking at gender when we do a compensation package. We focus on experience. We focus on the value that you can bring in as an employee. So we don't really look at gender for us to prepare any compensation package, right? The differences of whether what you earned before, etc., probably comes with certain reasoning that I cannot answer. But today in Nestle world, I'm fully confident I can share with you that's not how we look at compensation. We don't look at gender. So that's short answer. Because if you want to go long, you can see me, Sheila. We can speak one-to-one on this. Again, I can show you the breakdown, but no, gender is out of the question today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for answering that question. I guess that answer, and then this session is being recorded, so at least it gives comfort to the employees of Nestrade that compensation is not given based on gender, but performance. So thank you, Nadzirah, for clearing that up. So we have reached the end of today's session. Wonderful. It has been a wonderful sharing from our speakers, Malar, Niney, and also Nadzirah. We have covered quite a huge topics under the personal leadership area, and we did speak and we kept on talking about the key characteristics of a good leader. We spoke about the challenges of being women, also the challenges of being a woman leader in an international platform, the roles of mentorship, also the balance. We spoke a lot about, confidence, courage, and also the choices that we make, and the accountability, the knowing that whatever decisions that we make will have consequence, and also confidence building. Yeah, so quite a big range of area that we have covered today in the topic of personal leadership. Very happy to be the moderator for today's session, and I would now like to pass this floor back to Nadzirah. Over to you.
Thank you, Ophelia. And I would like to say thank you, everyone, for joining in this session today. It's actually quite a big one for Nestrade. It's been a while. We have such engagement. I'm happy to see that you guys dialed in. And thank you so much, Womentum team, for this collaboration. I really appreciate this connection with Niney, with Malar, with Ophelia. You guys bring into the Nestrade world something different, something inspiring, at least to me. I feel so. The messages and talking about embrace equity across the board, regardless you're female or male, leadership role. I mean, this is really nice, because you bring in a new perspective for all of us here in Estrade, because this is a hot topic for us to talk about, especially when you talk about development needs, right? So this is actually feeding to that, inspiring the team. I hope you guys over there, if I can see you, feel a bit inspired and bring in something to yourself, right? Do some reflection after this. I encourage everyone to do some reflection. Think about your self-awareness. Think about yourself, not just as an employee, but also as a person, right? So there, I really appreciate this session, and I thank you guys so much for being here today, be present and engage with us today. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Momentum, once again.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.